GMNA uses artificial intelligence for generated speech, visuals, and production. AI-generated content may contain errors. Please verify important information before making decisions or taking action.
Good morning, Montreal. I'm Lauren Dupuis. A daring car crash into a downtown jewelry store left 4 teens in custody, and a new Heat Island study shows stark temperature gaps across Boulevard de l'Acadie. Stay tuned for traffic updates. Over to you, Ryan.
Evelyn Badu scored a hat trick as the Montreal Roses beat Vancouver Rise FC 5-1 in Northern Super League.
The match ended with Montreal Roses winning 5-1, thanks to Badu's 3 goals and strong team play.
The victory marked the Roses' 3rd consecutive win this season, moving them into 2nd place in the league standings.
All right, let's get into it. The headlines include the Canadiens' trade, community bike share concerns, and upcoming festival events. Good morning, Montreal. Police say 4 teenagers were taken into custody early yesterday after a vehicle was driven into a jewelry store on the corner of Fleury Street and Curat Avenue. Officers responded to multiple crash reports just before 2 a.m., finding a car had rammed the storefront in what appears to be an attempted robbery. The suspects, all identified as local teens, were arrested at the scene and charged with assault and attempted theft. No injuries were reported, and store staff were able to evacuate before police arrived. Investigators said the crash was deliberate, noting damage to the display windows and a shattered front door. The case is now under review by the Montreal Police Homicide and Robbery Unit, and the teenagers will appear before a youth court later this week soon.
The city announced it will postpone the public assembly scheduled for tomorrow in Montreal Nord that was meant to address allegations of racism within the police force. Officials said the Montreal police requested the delay because a civic funeral for an officer killed on June 22 is set for the day before. The spokesperson explained that holding a protest on the same weekend as a solemn service would be inappropriate and could strain community police relations. Organizers of the gathering said they will seek a new date once the funeral concludes, reaffirming their commitment to highlight the concerns raised by residents. The city has not provided a revised timetable for the assembly, but indicated it will work with community groups to reschedule. The postponement was confirmed by the city spokesperson at a press briefing this morning. Police said they will cooperate with organizers after the funeral.
8 concerts are underway across the city to mark the 40th anniversary of the festival Nuit d'Afrique. Running from today through the 19th of July, the series will feature more than 700 artists from across Africa and the Caribbean. Highlights include legendary Malian singer Almou Sangaré and Ivorian reggae star Tyken Jah Fakoly, who will headline 2 of the shows. Organizers say the lineup showcases the continent's diverse rhythms, from traditional drums to modern Afrobeat. Venues range from outdoor stages in the Plateau to indoor halls in the Quartier des Spectacles, giving music lovers multiple options to experience the celebration. The festival, a staple of the city's summer calendar, continues to draw crowds eager to hear the vibrant sounds that have defined Nuit d'Afrique for 4 decades. Local food vendors will line the streets, adding the flavors of West African cuisine to the lively atmosphere.
Heat Island measurements taken this morning on Boulevard de l'Acadie reveal a temperature gap between the street-side pavement and the tree-lined opposite. Residents of Montreal report noticeably cooler air under the century-old urban forest that crowns the hill, while neighbors in Park Extension experience markedly higher heat on the exposed side. La Presse cited the study, noting that the thin canopy in Park Extension leaves the concrete to absorb and radiate heat, whereas Montreal's dense foliage provides natural cooling. City scientists say the disparity underscores how uneven tree cover across the island amplifies urban heat islands, making some blocks feel like a summer furnace while others remain temperate. Officials stress that expanding green corridors could narrow the gap, but immediate relief remains limited as temperatures climb across the region. The council is reviewing a pilot planting plan for next fiscal year to add thousands of trees in the most exposed districts.
Federal, provincial, and municipal leaders announced a joint investment of $45.5 million to create a new Mason Theatre on the island's east side. The announcement came on Wednesday, confirming that the Government of Canada, the Quebec government, and the City of Montreal will each contribute to the project. Officials said the new venue will fill a gap in cultural infrastructure and provide a modern space for performances, rehearsals, and community events. Construction is slated to begin later this year, with the theater expected to become a hub for local artists and audiences once completed. The collaboration reflects a broader strategy to expand cultural venues across the region, strengthening the art scene and supporting economic activity in the East Side neighborhoods. The site, slated near the historic St. Leonard corridor, will also create jobs during construction and operation, boosting the local economy. Later, NDZHAY residents voice noise and safety concerns over the new bike share station. A story we'll explore after the break. We will be right back.
Watch the local sunset tonight at 6 p.m. for all your local Montreal news.
If you run a venue, a comedy night, a concert, a fundraiser, you already know the hardest part isn't the show. It's selling the seats. Theaterfiller changes that. In minutes, you're set up with your own ticketing page, QR code delivery, and a door scanner. No technical headaches. No middleman taking a cut of your night. Your event, your tickets, your revenue. Go to theaterfiller.com and fill every seat.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a quick break. Let's dive into what's happening locally. Ryan, take it away with the stories.
Residents of the Notre Dame de Grace neighborhood are voicing strong concerns after a new BIXI bike share docking station opened nearby. Neighbors say the constant clatter of wheels and the rush of cyclists create a level of noise that disrupts evening routines, while the station's location on a narrow side street raises worries about pedestrian safety, especially for children playing close to the curb. The complaints come as the city pushes to expand its bike share network across the island, placing more stations within residential blocks. Local advocacy groups have approached borough officials, requesting a review of the station's placement and possible mitigation measures such as sound-absorbing barriers or repositioning of the docks. City staff have acknowledged the feedback and said they will assess the site while continuing to promote active transportation options for commuters.
An officer from the city police force faced a courtroom this past Monday after a barroom encounter was captured on video. The footage shows the officer seizing an Asian Canadian patron's hair, pulling him to the floor, and then alleging he had committed a crime. The man, identified only as the plaintiff, says the assault was unprovoked, while the officer maintains the force used was justified. The video was admitted as evidence during the trial, providing a clear visual of the disputed actions. The case arrives amid heightened public scrutiny of police behavior in the city, adding another high-profile incident to ongoing discussions about accountability. Community members watching the trial expressed concern about the implications for everyday interactions with law enforcement. Legal proceedings will continue as the court examines the officer's conduct and the plaintiff's claims.
The Caisse de dépôt et placement du Québec announced today it will not take part in the provincial government's call for interest to develop the third link of the major transportation corridor. The decision means the agency and its subsidiary CDPQ Infra will stay out of the bidding process that the coalition Avenir Quebec launched to expand the route. Officials said the move does not affect ongoing projects, but it removes a potential source of financing and expertise that many commuters hoped would accelerate construction. Without the Caisse's involvement, the province will have to rely on other investors to move the third link forward, a stretch that could influence traffic patterns and travel times for residents who already face congestion on existing bridges. The announcement came as the call for interest opened this morning.
Yesterday, the Quebec government signed off on a regulatory modernization that will permit farmers to bring up to 200,000 hectares of additional land into cultivation. The change, part of a broader effort to boost agricultural capacity, was welcomed by the Agricultural Producers Union, which said the new acreage will strengthen food security and create jobs for rural families. Environmental groups, however, voiced concerns that the expansion could pressure fragile ecosystems and increase greenhouse gas emissions. Officials indicated the policy includes safeguards, but critics argue the measures may not be sufficient to protect wetlands and forested buffers. The approval marks the most significant increase in farmable land in the province's recent history, signaling a shift toward intensified production while sparking a debate over balancing growth with conservation. Local farmers anticipate the new plots will allow them to diversify crops and meet rising demand from nearby markets.
Quebec's government unveiled today a $60 million plan to broaden sawmill operations across the province. The funding aims to cushion the sector from a 45% tariff the United States has placed on Canadian lumber, a pressure that has sparked a forest resource crisis. By supporting new processing lines and alternative product lines, the province hopes to keep mills running and preserve jobs in forest-dependent towns. Officials say the money will be allocated through grants and loans to eligible facilities, with the first disbursements expected to begin within weeks. Local contractors expect the new funding to keep supply chains moving, while retailers anticipate steadier availability of wood panels for home renovations this summer. Diversifying output reduces reliance on raw lumber exports and opens pathways to value-added wood products, which could stabilize earnings for families tied to the timber sector.
Now let's turn to the forecast and see what sunshine or showers await you today.
A ridge of high pressure and a southwest jet keep Montreal dry, while temperatures climb toward record highs. July 6th has seen the city touch extremes. The all-time high of 33.2 degrees was set in 2020 during a lingering heat wave that pushed the surrounding region into the upper 30s. By contrast, the coldest reading of 13.2 degrees fell in 2018 when an Arctic blast slipped south behind a stalled front, leaving snow on the outskirts. Our normal for this date hovers around 27 degrees high and 19 low, so today's forecast sits squarely between those historic marks. The live radar shows a clear swath across southern Quebec with no echo returning to the city. Moisture remains locked north of the St. Lawrence, and the high-pressure core is capping any lift. With the southwest jet streaming at 76 kilometers per hour aloft, any disturbance would be swept eastward well after noon. Expect the map to stay quiet through the afternoon, then gradually fade as the ridge strengthens toward evening. At 7 this morning, Montreal sits at 20 degrees under a clear sky, humidity 74%, and a light southeast breeze of 3 kilometers per hour. The air feels mild because the dew point sits at 15 degrees, a sign that the moisture column is shallow. A persistent high-pressure ridge holds steady, while a southwest jet aloft at 76 kilometers per hour supplies gentle subsidence that keeps clouds at bay. Temperatures will rise to 24 by 9, climb to 27 at noon, and peak near 29 in the mid-afternoon before easing to 28 by sunset. UV index 7 signals strong solar intensity. Winds remain modest, topping at 14 kilometers per hour from the southeast. No weather alerts are in effect. Looking ahead, Tuesday will stay dry with a high near 29 and a low around 19, keeping the ridge in place. Wednesday introduces mid-level clouds, nudging the high to 30 and the low to 20, but still no precipitation. Thursday brings a thicker cloud deck and a 35% chance of rain as a weak trough pushes from the west, while temperatures hover between 29 and 22. Friday sees the ridge reassert itself, delivering another high of 30 and a low near 19 under mostly clear skies. Saturday rounds out the stretch with a comfortable high of 28 and a low of 19, and the sky remains clear as the high pressure continues to dominate. The pattern suggests a warm, mostly dry week with only a brief chance of showers midweek. And that's your weather. Remember, the local sunrise is also available as a podcast. Listen anytime on Amazon Music or wherever you get your podcasts.
Traffic picking up on the east side, the Nuits d'Afrique Festival kicks off, and the roses dominate Vancouver. We will be right back.
Watch the local sunset tonight at 6 p.m. for all your local Montreal news.
All the major routes are moving freely this morning. The Autoroute 6, Autoroute 15, and Boulevard St. Laurent are clear, with no reported accidents or delays. Downtown streets, including Rue St. Denis and Rue Sherbrooke, are flowing at normal speed. If you're heading out to the airport, the Autoroute du Trois-Quarts remains open and traffic-free. With the calm start, commuters can enjoy a smooth ride to work or school. Looking ahead, the afternoon rush will likely build on the Autoroute 15 corridor, especially near the Souterrain du Centreville and the University District. Expect a modest slowdown on Rue St. Denis and Boulevard St. Charles as shoppers return. Construction on the Pont de la Cité is scheduled for later today, so keep an eye on that crossing after lunch. Overall, the morning is clear. Just plan for typical evening congestion as the day progresses. Stay alert for occasional lane changes near the downtown construction zones.
Festival International Nuits d'Afrique lights up the Quartier des Spectacles today, with top African and Latin American artists on indoor stages and outdoor streets. the vibrant rhythms turn a simple walk into a live celebration. Whether you're heading to work or meeting friends, the festival's open-air stages make every corner a concert. Just a few blocks away, Les Premiers Vendredis fills the esplanade of the Olympic Park with more than 50 food trucks, Canada's biggest street food gathering. Grab a bite and fuel your morning with flavors from around the world. Startup Fest launches tomorrow at the Old Port and runs through 10, gathering tech entrepreneurs, investors and innovators for pitch competitions and networking. It's the 3-day hub where Montreal's next big ideas take shape. Taste of the Caribbean arrives July 9 to 12 at Clock Tower Pier, serving island classics, live steel drum bands, and dance lessons for a quick tropical escape. And now here's Tyler with sports.
Montreal soccer dominates, and a Canadiens roster shakeup to tell you about. The Montreal Roses FC put on a show last Saturday in Northern Super League play, dismantling Vancouver Rise FC 5-1. Evelyn Badu was the star of the afternoon, netting a hat trick to fuel the dominant performance. According to CBC Sports Soccer, it was a commanding result for the Roses. A notable roster move out of the Canadiens organization, Montreal has traded forward Brendan Gallagher to the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for future considerations. CBC Sports NHL reported the deal back on June 29, marking the end of Gallagher's run with the Habs. Before his departure to Vancouver, the city of Montreal honored Brendan Gallagher with one of its highest recognitions, naming him an honorary citizen. The ceremony took place at City Hall, a fitting tribute to a player who gave this community everything he had.
Steve's Music Store on St. Catherine Street in downtown Montreal has announced it will close its doors after 60 years of serving musicians and music lovers. Founded by Steve LeBlanc in 1964, the shop has been a go-to spot for everything from vintage guitars to sheet music, and a rehearsal space where budding artists could test their sound. The decision comes as post-COVID market shifts and rising rents make it harder for independent retailers to survive. Its loss will leave a quiet gap in the neighborhood where generations have gathered to share riffs, advice, and community. Steve's has been more than a store. It's a heartbeat of Montreal's music scene, reminding us that the city's soul is built on places like this. And finally, a fond farewell to Steve's Music Store, the iconic Montreal shop closing its doors after 60 memorable years.
Coming up tonight at 6, the local sunset. Your neighborhood, your city, your news. From City Hall decisions to the stories happening right on your street, we cover what matters most to Montrealers. Join us tonight at 6 p.m. on GMNA for the local sunset, Montreal's evening newscast.
On a crisp Saturday morning, I'm standing outside the historic St. Louis Dumont Royal Library, where a small crowd of neighbors has gathered with coffee cups in hand. Today the province of Quebec announced the rollout of 17 new cellular sites across 10 regions, a promise of stronger signals that feels especially tangible here, where the hills of the eastern townships once left pockets of silence. One of the first towers will rise on the rolling fields of Cookshire, Eaton and Estrie, where a local farmer, Marie-Claire Boushar, told me she can finally video call her sister in Montreal without the familiar static that used to cut the conversation short. The project, funded jointly by the government and community partners, will place compact, solar-powered antennas on existing utility poles, preserving the skyline while weaving a steadier web of connection. Residents from St. Henry to Verdun have already reported fewer dropped calls during rush hour, and the new sites are expected to bring reliable service to schools, clinics, and small businesses that rely on digital tools. It's a reminder that, when we invest in the invisible threads that link us, neighborhood feels a little brighter.
On a bright Saturday morning in the historic Myland, the streets outside the Theatre St. Laurent are buzzing with the sound of popcorn kernels popping and the low hum of excited chatter. Fans of every age, from seasoned genre film lovers to curious teenagers in oversized hoodies, gather under strings of yellow lights that drape the storefront, while the festival's organizers, founder Pascal Melou and his spirited team, hand out vintage program booklets that smell faintly of ink and summer rain. In the courtyard, a young girl named Leela clutches a hand-drawn poster of a classic sci-fi monster, eyes wide as she watches a surprise screening of the festival's very first feature on a portable screen. The film flickers against a brick wall, and when the iconic opening line rolls, the crowd erupts in a collective gasp that feels like a warm embrace. Leela's mother leans over, whispering that this moment is the same one that sparked Pascal's dream 30 years ago, And the realization spreads, this celebration isn't just about movies, it's about the community that grew with them. As the sun sets over the St. Laurent, the festival's new Future Voices program promises fresh stories for the next generation, reminding us that the magic of imagination endures. It's a reminder that here in Montreal, we keep writing our own happy endings together.
Thank you, Montreal, for joining us this morning. Tonight's look at the widening heat island gap between neighborhoods highlighted the climate challenges our city faces. Stay tuned for more stories tomorrow on the local Sunrise. I'm Lauren Dupuis, wishing you a bright and hopeful day ahead.